listeners. Welcome to episode 283 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian beginning my 18th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. Amanda Jones's upcoming book, That Librarian, will be available this month on August 27th, but you can pre-order your copy now. And if you use the indie bookseller, Cavalier House Books, in Amanda's hometown of Denham Springs, Louisiana, you will get a signed copy. I've included a link in today's show notes. When you look at the cover of Amanda's book, you might recognize the Freedom Fighter shirt she's wearing. She reached out to the designer Christy, who then designed a line of That Librarian apparel as well as That Librarian flair, such as a bag, sticker, and mug. I love that we can all be that librarian who advocates for our library and our students' access to books every day. You will find a link to this online store in today's show notes. Please note that 15% of the proceeds go to the Texas Library Association, as that is the home state of the designer. There's a good chance listeners tuning in are familiar with DEMCO School Library Planner. I'm guessing several of you have already ordered and received yours in the mail. This passion project is very much the product of Christina Holz-Weiss's vision and conviction that school librarians deserve a planner designed with us in mind. This is the second year I was honored to be invited to contribute as one of the 53 school librarians to provide helpful tips, strategies, and resources in this planner. And fun fact, listeners to the podcast will recognize 22 of these school librarians as past guests on the podcast. I just happened to share a page with Lucas Maxwell, who's been a guest on the podcast 5 times. I am so grateful to Christina, who spearheads this project each year. I've included a link in the show notes. Take a look. This spiral-bound comprehensive planner includes customizable tabs, month at a glance, ample space for daily notes, and goal setting, as well as resources like daily celebrations, literature awards, and forms for completing, needs-based assessments, curriculum mapping, grant writing, book fair planning, book requests, organizing your vendors, budgeting, weeding, and self-reflection prompts, professional reflections, and much, much more. Consider treating yourself to this valuable tool in making the most of the upcoming school year, and I've included the link in the show notes. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me either on Facebook on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is at LMS_United. On Threads, you can find me at School Librarians United, and on Blue Sky at SLU Podcast, or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. And now a word from our sponsor, Capstone. Capstone is an innovative publisher and education technology provider of children's content for school libraries, classrooms, and at-home learning. Home of the award-winning PebbleGo research database, Capstone has a passion for creating inspired learning and intellectual curiosity in children, and I'm so excited to be working with them. I'm also grateful to Capstone for their commitment to support the podcast in Season 6. They are offering listeners of School Librarians United a very special discount. Visit shop.capstonepub.com and use the code UNITED to get $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and Capstone interactive ebooks. That's code UNITED for $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and ebooks on shop.capstonepub.com. This past week, I was incredibly fortunate to travel to Juneau, Alaska to present at a wonderful conference. I've included a link in today's show notes to the workshop that I gave. This conference, Stronger Together, Amplifying Voices, Strengthening Communities, includes the Alaska Library Association, the Pacific Northwest Library Association, and the Alaska Association of School Librarians. So a couple things about my trip. First of all, as I always do when I leave for school conferences, I wear my advocacy. And in this case, one of my favorite shirts is my Free People Read Freely t-shirt. I've included a link in the show notes. Friends, I got stopped by the security agents just admiring my shirt. They said, "Oh, you're a librarian. I love Libby." I mean, it was wild, friends. I'm going through security. This is a place you're not supposed to be engaging in like witty banter with, security. And they're like stopping to tell me what audiobooks they listen to on Libby. It was wild. When I was standing at the gate, a perfect stranger overheard that I was a librarian, saw my shirt, and gave me something. And it was so fun. It's called a liberal rock. And I took a picture of it and I included a link in the show notes, but it's these sweet little messages that are on these little, I want to say sort of a glazed pottery and with messages. And so I included a link in the show notes. It was very sweet, but made my day. I was just waiting at the gate to board. What was really fun is I spent this time rooming with Courtney Pentland, my friend, who is now the immediate past president of AASL. Fun fact, her episode is coming out next week. I was also very lucky. I got to attend some terrific sessions. I really enjoyed a presentation done by Native American illustrator Michaela Goade, author Candace Fleming, and illustrator Eric Rohmann. And friends, again, links to all of their websites in the show note. Our hotel, it was right next door to the conference center, which is always preferred because you just sort of walk next door and there you are. And we were in downtown Juneau, a walking distance to the harbor, and it was wonderful. It had a really busy boardwalk, and there were 4 cruise ships pulled right up dockside. We were treated to an evening at the local cultural center with a dance group. It was amazing. I was able to take a cable car up to up like 1,800 feet. And Courtney and I had this like unforgettable hike up, with signs that said, "Don't feed the bears," as well as a late afternoon whale watching tour. And in addition to seeing whales, we also saw eagles and bears. Most importantly, I was able to spend 3 unforgettable days surrounded by the gracious and welcoming librarian community in Alaska. I'm grateful to my hosts and this opportunity. I returned from my adventure inspired and energized and ready to make a difference in my school and in my professional community. And now for today's episode, Spotlight Alaska Association of School Librarians and my conversation with the School Librarians of Alaska.
Hello, my name is Nadine Kramers. I am the Early Literacy and Children's Services Coordinator for the Alaska State Library. I am a librarian's librarian. I work with youth services across the state. I manage the summer reading program, the NASA at My Library program, the Solar Eclipse program through StarNet. I've been here since November. I know, so fresh. I started as a children's library, and literacy is the starting point for everything. It's super powerful to me. So being able to work with so many different librarians and children is just epic. It's very wonderful. I am at this conference because I am a presenter. I'm doing one on talking books and how it is underutilized by the disabled population under 18. And I'm also doing one on laughter yoga because we all need to laugh more. And absolutely. And we need to teach children how to laugh more. Young children laughing all the time. Once they get to school, I don't know, do they beat it out of the kids? I can't tell anymore. When my children were going through school, they're like, recess is the best time. And I'm like, oh, I've got terrible news for you. That goes away as you get older. And so I really want to bring that laughter back.
So let me ask you, I'm curious, when it comes to supporting the librarians that you are supporting, what kinds of things do you think should be happening to make sure that families are introducing their children to the libraries as early as possible? Because in my opinion, as somebody who gets the kids when they're 5, those early exposure to their public library needs to start at a much younger age because it only makes their transition to school library so much easier.
I agree. It definitely makes a difference. There are 2 types of families. Ones that are like, yeah, the public library, I should totally be taking my kids here for story time. And then families who just don't know. Because once they know, they're thrilled. I've spoken to so many different families. On the one hand, we really need to have public libraries going out and meeting the families where they're at. I worked with a children's librarian who went to the farmer's market and did story time at the farmer's market. People weren't coming to the library for story time, but guess what? Everybody's coming to the farmer's market. This is where we need to do story time. So I would heavily recommend that kind of engagement, meeting the families where they're at.
I had an opportunity to read an article, and this was, I think it was in the Chicago Tribune, I'm not sure, but it was librarians who went to the laundromats, and they did library story time in places where kids would be sitting around bored out of their minds.
Absolutely. I believe that was the Chicago Public Library, right? I've read similar articles, and it wasn't just about meeting the children where they were at. It was the mothers. So it was a collaboration with other groups in the community, focusing on, we're taking the kids and doing the story time thing with the kids while other service workers are working with the moms. And I think that kind of collaboration is so fabulous. So yes.
Listen, I'm so grateful you took some time out of your busy day. This is a fantastic conference, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was great to meet you. I'm glad to be here.
Hello, my name is Julie Dupkin. I am a K-5 librarian at Turnagain Elementary in Anchorage. It's a Russian immersion school full of cool students.
Well, and friends, we got to meet Julie the first time in Tampa. You and I were both attending our national conference, and you were like, yeah, we're from Alaska. And I interviewed you with some of your friends. I couldn't believe it, and here we are. So listen, I'm so grateful. Tell me, what do you want to share with listeners today?
Well, I want to share about my goal for next year. So my goal for next year is to simply survive. And what I mean by that, I'm not really joking. I sort of am, but not really, because right now my current schedule has me teaching math and ELA for second graders, as well as an hour intervention block. So that means 3 hours out of my day is not library stuff. There's also no time for open library, open checkout. I'd be teaching the math block during the 3, 4, and 5 grade lunch, which means no library visits from those kids, which is kind of a bummer. A big bummer. And it also means I can't coach a reading competition program that we do. And so there's very valid reasons why the schedule is the way it is, because we don't have enough staff and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really fault my principal, but it really feels like it's really heavily impactful for the library program. And that's where I'm stressing, and that's why I keep saying I'm going to survive next year. But really, my goal really next year is advocacy, because my principal does value what I do, but I need to help her see that the schedule is really not something that will help the library program grow in any way. And so Courtney Pentland just had a really great session on reaching out to people. And so I think that's what I'm going to be focusing on with advocacy, is seeing who I can reach out to with numbers and saying, libraries, student visits are down, circulation may be down, so numbers will kind of help buoy that. But also just get some stories for the students who are going to be like, you'd love to see me, and go, why can't I come see you? It's like, well, because my schedule doesn't allow it. So advocacy and survival are my goals next year.
So I have to ask, our teachers are sometimes our best allies because they depend on us. And all of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of things pulling you in a lot of different directions. Doesn't it make sense that maybe a couple of your friends might get the ear of your administration and talk about the things that no longer are possible because you are being expected to wear far too many hats in your situation, your new schedule this year?
Yeah, I reached out to a couple of my fellow staff members who were kind of outraged on my behalf too, and sort of like, wait, what are you doing? Because it'll even impact book fair, because if I'm having to do classes and conferences, I can't do book fair. So I do have a couple of people on staff who are going to be like, wait a minute, she does this for me. And I also won't be able to reschedule library classes because I will have, Mondays and Fridays we get off for holidays. I will not be able to reschedule classes like I usually do, and I'll be missing those kids regularly.
Well, and I think about, all too often everyone says, I don't know how you do it all. Newsflash, I can't do it all. And I think your school is going to figure out firsthand that you can't do it all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And there's other little things I do throughout the day that will not be done anymore because I won't have time. And I'm probably going to set those boundaries of like, you're pulling me in this direction. And so I'm just going to have to pull back on the stuff I normally do, because I'm a total team player. But if I don't have the time, I just don't have the time.
Well, and I think, the solution isn't coming in early and staying late.
No, absolutely not. And our schedule shifts next year. So our schedule is now from 8 a.m. to 2:30, and I am a half an hour away from my school. So I'm definitely not coming in early. And my husband's already said, I know 2:30 is going to feel super early. Please don't stay extra. So yeah, I'm going to, again, set those boundaries.
We're going to find a solution. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And I have a feeling that your year is going to end very differently than when it started.
That is my sincere hope.
I wish you the very best of luck. It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate right now, but you also have a plan.
Yes, there's an email going out soon to my administrator, and we'll see where that goes.
Julie, I know I'm not alone. I hope you have a turnaround, and I wish you the very best of luck. I know you're going to fight hard.
I appreciate that, and I love the kids at my school, so I'm willing to kind of muddle through this year, doing what's best for them, and hope on the other side of it that there'll be a different result.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Sullivan, and I'm the teacher librarian at McDaniel High School in Portland, Oregon. And I love Alaska, so when the Juneau opportunity arose, I hopped right on it.
Absolutely, and you're not just here to learn, you're here to teach. You just gave a fantastic session. Will you tell us a little bit about it and what it is that motivated you to present in the first place?
Well, I really wanted to come to Juneau, so I sent in 2 proposals, and I was hoping they would accept one, and they accepted 2. So I did my Sheffield Institute Boys session, and then the next day, I'll be doing immersive mixers. So maybe you'll come to that.
I plan on it. So listen, tell us, I was really intrigued by your session today, and it really puts the school librarian in a place where we're raising our profile in the value that we bring to our students and to our teachers. But can you, in a nutshell, tell us what it is that you feel so strongly is the way that we can support our students in the session that you just presented?
Well, the main thing for me is that I just want everyone to know how amazingly talented my students are. And if we're not showcasing their voice, no one's knowing.
Well, and you provided several opportunities, and you spearhead these in your library space. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, of course. So I started by talking about poetry slams, and I actually was a fan of poetry slams before I became a school librarian. So I thought, I could do this here with teenagers, and it'll be super fun. And it's been more amazing than I ever could have imagined. And then moving on to story slams and student reading, just getting kids in front of others and celebrating their words and their voices. Super exciting too.
I love that. And you also then feed into the larger Portland community because there are community places where these voices are showcased.
Yes, well, I started by just kind of recruiting one of my other high school librarian friends and then another high school librarian friend to host poetry slams in their schools. And then it became a citywide thing. And we're so lucky in Portland to have Literary Arts as an arts organization to support us. And they were willing to take on the citywide event. And so now it's a big thing.
Wow. And give us just a sneak preview of tomorrow's session, because listeners aren't going to be able to attend it, but I will.
My work bestie and I love to do immersive mixers. They used to be called tea party, but I guess we're calling them mixers now. So what happens is, I think a lot of classrooms do this as when they're introducing a new novel. So different students in the class will take on the persona of a different character in the novel, and then they go around and introduce themselves. The one that I'm doing tomorrow is the Roaring 20s. So these are going to be all important figures from the 1920s going around saying, hi, I'm Ida B. Wells, and this is why I'm significant, and I'm Amelia Earhart, and she was fun.
It's almost like a living museum.
It is like a living museum. I like the way you put that.
Well, listen, I am so grateful you're here, and Alaska's lucky to learn from you, and I'm so glad that you had a chance to stop and talk. I hope you have a fantastic conference.
Thank you. You too. It's great to talk.
Hi, I
I'm Erin Downey. I'm the District Consultant Librarian for Boise School District.
You are supporting librarians in your district. Can I ask how many and what's sort of the distribution in this district, because I don't know how big it is?
Yeah, we've got about 25,000 students. We're a refugee resettlement community, so we have more than 100 languages spoken in our school district. We get students who are brand new to country, like they just showed up a few days or weeks ago. And so it's really exciting to have that very, very diverse background. We support 36 elementary libraries and 13 secondary libraries. So all of our elementary librarians are paraprofessionals, and then our secondary, junior high, and high school are teacher librarians.
Wow. So it sounds like you've got a lot of needs that you are trying to support at once. So let me ask you, you're here, you have a session you're going to be presenting. I'm so excited that I get to attend. Tell us about your session and what are some things that you want to especially impart on your attendees?
Yes, my session is all about how to start talking about AI tools in education and in schools primarily for skeptics. It is such an equity issue when you have administrators or teachers who are too afraid. Students have to have them in their hands. This is the future. This is their future career at stake. So they need to have some hands-on time. And if we're too fearful, and granted there are some pitfalls and there are some things to be aware of, but if we're too fearful to let students have these tools in their hands, they stand to miss out on something that might be really, really important for their future. So my session is all about a couple of conversations that a school librarian would be in a great place to facilitate with their administration, with their teachers, and with their communities about how to allow students to start using AI and what are some of the techniques that could be used to avoid some of the pitfalls.
Well, and I'm thinking that's so vitally important because the school librarians you're supporting are on the front line of this pushback, and they're going to have to convince their administrators and teachers and families that this is actually something that can be harnessed for good. What are you telling your school librarians?
We're encouraging our school librarians to let teachers and administrators get their hands on some of these tools. One of my very favorite initial exercises is to sit down with teachers, open up ChatGPT, and try to plagiarize a paper in a believable way. Put in the prompt for an assignment that you give, and let's see how long it takes and what it takes to produce a piece of writing that a student could pass off as their own work. And it's a lot more difficult than you would think. So that leads to a really great discussion about, okay, so it's not as easy as just putting the assignment in. Are there things that could be learned along the way? And so it opens up some really interesting conversations about plagiarism, about how work and written work is constructed, and what parts of the writing process are maybe more useful than others and maybe can have more time spent on that than just the production of the writing.
Wow. No, I realize this is a moving target because AI is it's evolving at the speed of light. So it sounds like this is something that you might have to revisit with your team, say, in the next year.
Absolutely. The tools are constantly changing. And they're constantly becoming more capable. So while last year, when I was facilitating a lot of these conversations, there wasn't a tool that accurately replicated student voice in a believable way, I have no doubt that one of the next things to be on the market is something that a seventh grader could use to produce a kind of writing that a seventh grader would write, and that it would be believable to plagiarize and to use a shortcut. It's definitely going to be here, but for now, we're just not that sophisticated yet, which is kind of nice. It gives us some room to work with.
Well, I think the important thing is that we are part of the solution, that school librarians are vitally important to their buildings because we're the ones who are going to be, this is going to be on our radar, even if it's not on the radar, or at least on top of that list of things to worry about for administrators and teachers. It makes us more valuable, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Being the person in your building who knows a little bit about a whole lot of things puts you in a great position to be able to communicate not only where we're sitting right now in the development and in the evolution of a topic as broad as AI. It also puts us in a great spot to have had lots of different experiences that we can help people understand and really kind of harness for their own classroom.
Erin, I'm so glad you decided to stop and talk. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic conference.
Yes, thank you. You too.
I am Jamie Whiting. I am currently a Fairbanks Lathrop High School library teacher. So I'm a teaching librarian over in Fairbanks. And I work at a high school with about 800 students in the downtown Fairbanks.
Fantastic. And, congratulations. I believe you just graduated from your program. So tell us, where did you get your library degree from?
So I got my library degree from Valdosta State University in Georgia, and I just turned in all my assignments, so I'm still waiting on the confirmation of graduating, but I am almost there. I have faith. I'm going to graduate.
Well, and congratulations. We have a Michigan connection because while we are here in Alaska, apparently you are from Michigan.
Yeah, so I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan. So I spent the first 18 years of my life there, and then I decided to go to Northern Michigan University and pursue a degree in environmental science. So I started working at the library on campus there, and that's how I started my library career.
So a week ago, I made my first trip from the Metro Detroit area to the UP, which is the Upper Peninsula. And friends, I am 54 years old, lived in Michigan most of my life. I have never been to the UP until last week. So I have spent so much of my adult life wanting to go to the UP and finally had the opportunity, such a beautiful part of our state, which I've never been able to enjoy. But you're here in Alaska. What brings you out here? Because I'm so jealous. I mean, this is such a gorgeous part of the country.
So we ended up in Fairbanks because my husband's military, he got stationed at Fort Ring right up here, and we decided that, Alaska is our next step because it reminds us so much like the UP. It's that small town feel. It has all the outdoorsy stuff that we absolutely love, and it's just a small town feel in a beautiful state.
So I love that. So what are you going to share with listeners today?
So I'm going to share about obstacles that I've overcome in my library and how I built a welcoming environment for my students when the library was not a welcoming environment for them.
Fantastic. So tell me, what's the magic trick? How'd you fix this problem?
So it took me a couple years to gain the trust of the teachers and students, and just building that trust that even after COVID or even after an absent librarianship, that they still have a place that is a library, and a library can mean many different things to students. It's not just a quiet place to study, but it's a place of community, to feel welcome, to talk about books, to discover new information and resources that they might not even have the opportunity to experience.
I love that. It's very encouraging because it sounds like you turned it around. It wasn't always like that, but you made it a priority, and your teachers and I'm sure your students absolutely love you for it.
Yeah, it's really great and satisfying when I have kids who are about to graduate. They ask me for a list of books that they should read, and they get that reader's advisory from me. They discover that they love research. They discover that it's more of a scavenger hunt when you're looking for research topics that you might be interested in. It's just I never knew this research topic I chose would be this interesting, and I want to pursue it in my college degree. So it's so cool seeing those connections and those light bulb moments.
I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful we had a chance to connect, and I am really hoping that this next year is even better than the last.
So am I. I am so hoping that I get to build more welcoming communities, have more partnerships with the public library, and getting more students in my library.
Outstanding. Have a great conference.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Anderson, and I am entering into my third year as a K-5 school librarian in Anchorage, Alaska. I started out as a classroom teacher, so I've been a classroom teacher since about 2018 and just needed a change, and the library was the perfect place for me. I reach about 400 students, and I don't have an assistant or anything. It's just me, but I love it. I love every aspect of librarianship.
Fantastic. Well, let me ask you, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
I would love to share my favorite ed tech tool.
And tell me, because we're always looking for ways to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, so my favorite ed tech tool, I know it's probably not unique, most librarians use it, but it is Canva. And I use it because I love making displays. You need to be able to catch your students' attention and engage them in what they might want to read. And Canva makes it so easy, and I love it.
Well, let me ask you, they're not our only customers, right? We also have to be able to bring in those teachers, and we need to be able to win over our administrators. What are some things that you do in terms of using ed tech to help your teachers out?
Yeah, so I actually, I do a lot of leadership things in my building. I give a lot of PD presentations, and something that I love using is Pear Deck because it's very interactive. It keeps people on task, and that way I can share all the different ways that they can utilize the library.
So I'm curious, what are some of the PD sessions that you've offered to your teachers?
Well, I have done a PD about copyright, and I lead our PLC meetings. It's just a fun way to get them engaged and involved.
I know none of us want to be the copyright police. And, we are such rule followers. We have such strong moral compasses. But tell me, how have you managed to diffuse that kind of tension when it comes to violating copyright, but also wanting your teachers to succeed?
Well, I think when I presented it to my teachers and my staff, I put it in a way that we as librarians and teachers are models for our students. We don't want our students to be breaking, the law and doing anything that would infringe on, the artists that are creating whatever we're using. And so I think putting it that way, that by following copyright law and fair use, we are being the best models that we can be for our students.
You're very busy, but you've managed to find a lot of time to support school librarians, and I'm hoping you'll tell us how, because I know people would like to follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, so earlier this year in February, I started a Bookstagram, I guess you could call it, where I share book recommendations, and more importantly, I share ways that teachers and parents and caregivers can engage with their children in the books that they're reading. And so my Instagram handle is Mrs.Anderson_reads if you want to check it out.
I think that's so much fun because, for those of us who are looking for ways to make our job just a little bit easier, can you give us a sort of breakdown? What kind of age group you're doing this for? Because I know for many people it is grade level specific.
Yeah, so my account is primarily for the elementary librarian. But, every once in a while, I'll share either young adult or what I call grown-up reads. So that might appeal to parents or grown-up.
Well, and I appreciate that. We're always looking to grow our PLN, and Instagram is really important for that. I hope you have a fantastic conference, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. So nice talking to you.
My name is Catlin Jacobson. I am the high school librarian in Ketchikan, Alaska. I am on my 11th year, and previously I was 8 years as the middle school librarian, one random year as an elementary school librarian when I returned home to Alaska. I am now in the high school that I went to school in, which is wonderful. I graduated a long time ago in 1983. I got out for about 20 years. I was a librarian outside of Washington, D.C. for 8 years, and then moseyed my way back to Alaska, and I'm very glad to be home. It's really remarkable to be in my own high school library. What a joy it is to be in my high school now and welcome students into our library.
Catlin, please tell me about your role in your state leadership, because I know that you have been very instrumental.
For a few years, I was active in the state association, served as secretary, and then slowly made my way into the school library part of it. I did serve in a variety of roles in the School Library Association here in Alaska, a regional rep, grants coordinator, in the service award in 2020. I went into the presidential role as well.
Well, and let me ask you, though, because you have a board, and that's got to be really an important part of the ability to rally and to be able to support the school librarians of Alaska.
And that really is the joy of what we call AKASL, the Alaska Association of School Librarians. It's a very good team. We've got a group that's been together for a really long time. We've got some fresh meat as well, as you just noticed. But it is a really strong group of people that have been with us for a long time, as well as newcomers, and that's how we get the work done. And we're going to figure out what we can do together to reach every school library person in the state. That's the goal, to help every school library person. We have a ton of school librarians in Anchorage, but the rest of us, Anchorage is, I don't know, it's like a third of the population maybe.
Yeah. Well, and I have you to thank, because you and I have been emailing for a great long time, and you are the primary reason why I'm here. So I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to connect with you and the School Librarians of Alaska. So thank you so much. I know that you are doing the work and you've got an amazing team. And thank you again for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you for being here with us. We really are glad you're here.
I'm Stephanie Udy. I'm a K-5 librarian in Wasilla, Alaska. And I started in 2020, just before the shutdown. And so my library has changed every year since then. Before that, I was a 4th and 5th grade teacher. And now I get the littles as well as the bigs. And it's been a lot of fun. But one of my favorite ways to collaborate is to find my yes person. I started with my friend that I knew would not tell me no. And we started on a little project. And since then, I've found another yes person and another. And I feel like finding that one person opened the door to a whole school of collaboration and enjoying reading and research and everything together.
Well, and that yes person is usually also your cheerleader. They're going to talk you up to their peers, their team, their grade level team, or whatever they share in common. I love that. So can you tell me of a collaboration that you really are proud of?
Well, I got with the 1st grade teacher. She was one of my yes people, and she needed to do some digital and some technology stuff. And so I did a little mini research project with them. They picked an animal, and we looked up what it ate. And then we did a Google slide where they found a picture and typed their sentence. And then I printed it out so that she could show it. So she did a little bit, I did a little bit, and it was a really cute project.
Well, and I'm sure you made things so much easier. You're a partner in learning. This is effective, and I'm sure your principal was really glad to see you take that lead as well.
Yes, I have a super supportive principal, which I am also blessed with. I do a lot of technology stuff and bringing more research and even just the love of books within the research as well.
Well, and I imagine your 2nd grade team is going to want to tap your resources as well as your 3rd grade team and so forth. So fantastic. So what are you looking to? Is there something that's on your horizon? You're really excited. Your school year is around the corner. What is something you're excited to do this year?
This year, I'm excited to expand into national parks with my 4th graders so that I can really get the 4th grade national parks free pass out, because 4th graders can get free entry into national parks from their September to the next August with 4th grade families. And so I'm really looking at pushing my national parks project.
I love that. And I imagine that's not just an Alaska thing. So tell me what resource you're going directly to the education tab on the National Park Service?
Ooh, I think it's called Every Kid Outside. Ooh, I'm going to have to remember that. But if you Google National Parks Pass 4th grade, it will bring you to that. And it's all around the country. I took my now 6th grader. When she had that pass, we went and visited Bryce Canyon, and it's amazing. And this next year, we have a road trip planned for my incoming 4th grader to use that. And it's countrywide, and any 4th grade can do it.
Fantastic. Link in the show notes. I really appreciate you spending some time today. I hope you have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Becky Forsyth. I'm the Bartlett High School librarian in Anchorage, Alaska. And one of the favorite things that I started with help from a couple of English teachers at our school is open mic. This last year, we had it once a month, the first Friday of every month. Kids shared their poetry, they'll played instruments, they did comedy routines, some teachers participated. I just hope to keep it growing and growing because very well loved and very well attended.
Is this during lunch or is it after school?
Good question. Yes, it's during lunch. It allows kids to bring their food in there during that time, and so it's very well attended.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure there are a lot of people who'd like to try that.
Yes, it's a great thing to do. It gives kids the chance to share their voice and whatever they care about.
And love being in the library.
Absolutely.
Have a great conference.
Thank you.
My name is Karina Reyes, and I work at Gino Douglas High School as a high school librarian.
Fantastic. And what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
I would like to share the fact that in order to get the library, to be more welcoming and to feel like it's a space for the students, is to have the students work and make them be your assistant and give them the power to do something even as simple as checking in and checking out books.
Well, and that gives them ownership for the space. And all of a sudden, I think I have to agree with you completely, because they feel more invested in the space and more they want to see it succeed, and they want their friends to be there.
Yes. The day that they thought my position was going to be cut, they rallied the entire school and got everybody to just come inside the library during a school board meeting and say, hey, we love this space. You cannot cut this position. You cannot cut our librarians. So I thought, oh my gosh, that was it. I didn't even realize I was actually advocating also for my position by having them work with me in the libraries, and that was fabulous.
I think that's fantastic because, they become your biggest cheerleaders.
They are.
And, and all of a sudden you're able to channel your energy in a way that you're best used and your students feel empowered. I think that's fantastic. Now, this opening of the school year, you have an interesting and unique challenge, one that I've actually done myself. Can you briefly describe what you're walking into when the school year starts very soon?
I'm walking into a library that has been consolidated with another high school library because we closed down one high school, and I have absorbed a second high school library. So I have another, 10, 15,000 books that I need to somehow find space for and organize. So it's a little bit daunting.
I'll be honest, during the pandemic, I was also part of the sort of receiving end of a consolidation, and we were able to glean from the two collections, pick the best things, and it made weeding easier. So you're sort of consolidating and weeding at the same time?
Yes, and that's actually kind of a little bit more complicated because we doubled our population of students, and I have doubled the books that I do have. But I also know that at some point I need to go through all of those books and find out what is really valuable and what can be really used.
It sounds like you're going to need to maybe expand your student workforce.
I need to get some really amazing student assistants, and I hope they're out there. I just need to get them this year.
Karina, I have no doubt you're going to work your magic this year. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Leah Hyman. I'm an elementary librarian here in Juneau, Alaska. And the thing that I was going to talk about was advice for working with a little budget. We have a really great Friends of the Library bookstore here in Juneau, and I love going there. And for a couple of bucks, I can get awesome puzzles for my library that the kids can spread out and do. They always have new stuff coming in. And a lot of times I have a list going of books that I need to fill in gaps for, a series or something. And sometimes I just hit on that magical, missing book in my series, and I can get it for next to nothing. So.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I shared with my friends at the library that I was buying for the school, and they just kind of put everything in a bag and said, here, take it.
Yeah, they do that for us sometimes too. For teachers in general, they let teachers have books for the classroom. So.
Well, and friends, if you're tuning in and you have a Friends of the Library and your Friends of the Library don't have an educator day, I suggest that they offer an educator day, because it is one way that they can sort of turn over whatever books they have around and sort of make room for the next round of donations. So let me ask you, you're going into this next year. Do you have something on your radar you're really excited about starting in the fall when your students return?
I'm just starting to get my brain wrapped around the new school year and thinking about creating displays and doing some book talks for my website that I can post for maybe our Battle of the Books list. So I've been working on Battle of the Books reading this summer.
Well, and it sounds like you're going to be ahead of the game because you've already read the books that the students are going to be reading.
Yeah, that's usually one of my summer goals, because otherwise it's hard to get through all 20 books in that school year for 2 different grade level
Wow, 20 books. Now, I mean, I've heard of, maybe 5 books, but you've got 20 between the different grade levels you support.
Right. We have, I think, 10 books usually for both 3rd and 4th grade. Those are easier because they're usually shorter. And then the 5th and 6th grade books are often pretty long, so it's good to get a head start.
Well, your students are awfully lucky to have you. I hope you have a fantastic school year.
I'm Debi Reinhardt from Tacoma, Washington. The library I work for as outreach technician is Puyallup Public Library in Puyallup, Washington. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my podcast since I met you. It's so cool. My podcast at the library is called Shush with Debi, and I'm Debi, of course.
So, friends, link in the show notes. I'll definitely put one in there for you. So let me ask you, Debi, what are some of the topics that you've been talking about in recent episodes?
Okay. Recently, I spoke with someone from the genealogy library located in Puyallup. It's called the Heritage Quest Genealogy Library. I've spoken to lots of my coworkers who recommend books and films. So that would be all the people of the library, which all have great recommendations, of course. Let's see, I recently recorded a fashion designer from Seattle that I am thrilled to call a friend, Dan McLean, and had a wonderful interview with her. So those are just a couple of the ones that I've done in the last couple months.
Well, I think that's fantastic because there's a listening audience. There are people who want to learn and realize their library has so much more to offer.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that you do this. Let me ask you, you're here at this conference. What's the one that you're excited and ready to implement when you get home?
Oh, my goodness. Everything that I've heard about, I just feel like sharing. I feel uplifted about the sharing and the acknowledging of what libraries stand for in the truth. Reading for all, I can't even put it into words. Yeah, just keep on spreading the word of all that we offer and all that we stand for.
I totally agree because coming to a conference filled with librarians, it's so energizing and really gives you that desire to keep on fighting the good fight. Thank you, Debi, for having your podcast, and I know listeners will tune in.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for what you do. Hi, I'm Gina Marker, and I am the teacher librarian at Centennial High School in the West Ada School District in Meridian, Idaho, right outside of Boise.
I'm just going to ask you, because I'm in Alaska right now, but I'm also aware that there are librarians from the area. It's a regional get-together. So can you explain why there are librarians here from other states outside of Alaska?
Yeah, so the Pacific Northwest Library Association is made up of Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Washington, Alaska, Alberta, and BC librarians. And so that's why I'm here, because as an Idaho librarian, I see a lot of the advertisements for PNLA conferences and other workshops. And when I saw that this year's conference was in Juneau, which I had never been to before, I thought I'm going to go check it out and explore Juneau and learn from some great regional librarians.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but does the conference then rotate to the other states?
It does, yes. It will swing back around to Idaho at some point. It was in Montana either last summer, the summer before that. So, and I actually presented at this conference maybe 12 years ago, something like that, when I was in Anchorage. So the only other time I've been to Alaska. And it's kind of nice to not only meet other librarians from around the region, but also get to see some cool places.
Well, and I have to ask you, because that it's a regional support network, because you are all in a certain part of the country and your populations are such that they are fairly spread out, that it makes sense to sort of relocate the conference just for equity purposes and everybody gets to benefit from belonging to a larger organization.
Right. And I find a lot of comfort, I guess, in talking with Alaska librarians, Montana librarians, people who are also from rural, western states. We're certainly not all the same, but there are a lot of similarities in the population we serve, how we serve our patrons, whether it's in the public libraries or in school libraries. I feel kind of a camaraderie here that I maybe don't often feel if I go to a larger national conference where I feel like I stick out like an Idaho sore thumb, that sort of thing.
I know. I hope that we don't make you feel that way, but I see no. Coming from a metropolitan area versus a more rural area, some of the challenges you may face are similar to other states in this part of the country.
Right, and I wouldn't have to maybe explain some of those challenges as much here in Alaska, talking to Alaska school librarians. Not that my situation is the same at all. I live in Boise. It's the biggest city in Idaho. We're essentially an urban suburban center. So it's nothing like someone at the school librarian here in Juneau. I'm not trying to say they're the same thing, but as far as we come from a less populous rural state. There are some similarities between our seats, and therefore some commonalities as we're having conversations with each other as librarians. And I find that very comforting, and that's one of the reasons why I make it a point of trying to attend PNLA, because I feel like I'm sort of around my people to a degree.
I love that. So let me ask, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
So I have been a school librarian for 16, 17 years, something like that. You know how you lose track after a while? I was in the classroom for 12 years. I think that I just finished here 17 in the library, but I don't know. Numbers, I lose track. Anyway, one of the things that I have learned the hard way as a school librarian, and a hack that I want new librarians or continuing librarians to learn if they haven't yet, is that everything in your library should be mobile. So if you buy new furniture, it needs to be on casters. If it is not on casters, because for some reason, if you buy a chair that's on casters, it costs $400 more than a chair that's not on casters, that sort of thing. If you can't afford that, that's okay, I understand. Make it mobile. So you either put it on casters yourself, or, and I can't do that. I don't know how to, make those improvements myself, but put it on furniture sliders. So everything in my 35-plus-year-old library is either new furniture bought with casters, or the old stuff that I haven't been able to replace yet is on furniture sliders. And here's why that matters. It makes your library indispensable to your staff. So when your admin team says, we want to host a quarterly potluck in the library because there's nowhere else to do it, and you have the space, all you need to say is yes. And and the reason it makes it easy is because you can easily move those tables out of the way, the ones that are on wheels, or even the ones that aren't on wheels, because you just get behind that old bookcase that is on furniture sliders and you slide it out of the way, and it makes your principal so happy. And then during your evaluation, one of the things he's going to say is, thank you for always agreeing to host the staff potluck in the library. And you just say, you're welcome. It was no sweat. Really, you did sweat, but it was easier to push that furniture out of the way, even though you were sweating, because it was all on furniture sliders. So buy things on wheels, buy furniture sliders in bulk, and make sure you make the library a place where any teacher, any staff member can come in and say, hey, can we host such and such an event here? And you say, yeah, it's no problem to move all that stuff out of the way. Give me 10 minutes and I'll reinvent this space and make it fit whatever you need it to be.
I love that. We are always customizing our space and supporting our teachers' needs. And you know what? Yes is always the answer. Gina, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you, and you as well. It was great to talk to you. My name is Terrell Sullivan, and I am an elementary school librarian. And one of my favorite ways to collaborate with my staff or the kids is with the second grade students. I read the list of the Battle of the Books that AKASL supports and promotes every year. And so I work with my second graders to do a mini battle at our school at the end of the school year so they know what it is like when they go into third grade and they can actually participate district-wide with this competition.
Can I be honest? I've never heard of a Battle of the Books that starts in second grade. Can you tell me, how do you get these kids excited about something that's quite a commitment?
There are lists of books that you read, a list of 12 books that you read, second through 12th grade, and then you work as a team and answer questions about the books, and we do a district battle. Groups of students from every school that participates goes and compete district-wide. Well, some schools, they will do their own kindergarten, first, second grade Battle of the Book and read this list of books, maybe during library time or after school or lunchtime, and then they will create little teams to answer questions about the book and have to remember, okay, in which book did this happen? In which book did that happen? And they have to work together in 30 seconds to come up and share which book.
I love that because, this is another way to excite students who are becoming on the edge of they're really becoming independent readers. And this is one way that they can take what they've learned and feel capable and excited about reading.
And yes, it's a variety. It's not just all picture books for third grade. There are some chapter books, or as you are getting older, you may still have some picture books as part of that book list, but it may also offer a variety of books, biography, nonfiction, fiction, mostly fiction, but authors that you may never read or a genre that you would never pick that up and, oh, hey, I got to finish this series before I continue on to the next book. I've had kids to do that before.
Well, and I think what's wonderful, if I'm getting this correct, is that a lot of schools do this. And so you don't have to generate this momentum. Other schools are also participating in it. And you have that sort of expectation that this is going to continue moving forward.
Yes, and so we'll get the kids excited and started in our school. So go to the district level, they participate there. Depending on wherever they place there, they come back to school. They're like, okay, we've got to get, when is the next list coming out? And so as soon as that list is out, we're going to start reading the books and preparing for next year. And it's something that AKASL has supported, and they prepare the book lists and for the teachers or for the schools that participate every year. And so it's already done and provided for you.
Well, and I'm thinking about this, I think about second grade being awfully young. We think nothing about getting our second graders into organized sports. We think nothing about getting our second graders into sports that compete, intramural. But, when you think about our soccer teams and our Little League, they're all competing in second grade. Why not become readers and celebrate that?
Exactly. Readers, it's cooperation. It is, you have to work together.
All right. Right now, I know that there are a bunch of second grade librarians who are like, you know what? We can make this a thing. Hey, Terrell, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the conference, and thank you for sharing today.
Well, thank you, Amy, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Pam Verfai, and I am the Library Associate at Foundies High School in Foundies, Alaska. And I was kind of excited because I just received the Linda K. Barrett Service Award for service at the local and state level, which is, for me, pretty exciting. And I think the reason I got that is the reason for this conference, because this conference, the theme is Stronger Together. And the only reason that I am so successful in a library, the only reason that I'm going into my master's degree is because of people that I've worked with here. My advice to anybody and leader who works with Janet Madsen is do what Janet tells you to do. Because Janet, who will tell you that she doesn't really do anything, has mentored everybody. She is the cheerleader. She is the encourager. She is the one who says, you need to do this. You need to do this. You should sign up for this. And she has created so many opportunities for people working across the state of Alaska. And I think if everybody did what Janet did, if everybody reached out, encouraged somebody else, told them why they were special, then we would have the most amazing library services. So that's why I love this Stronger Together for the Alaska Library Association and Pacific Northwest Library Association and Conference.
Well, and it's just so inspiring to be able to come and be with other librarians for me, but also to meet people like you, because you're also a leader in your state organization. Can you go into a little detail?
Well, I've taken a variety of different roles. I've been a region rep. I have been president. I have done some work with social media, not nearly as well as I wanted to, but I recruited Kelly, and she's phenomenal. So, that can be my claim to fame there. I think the relationship building is probably the strength of what I do, and so that's a good thing. And I love the fact that you said inspiration, because, it has been not inspirational for a bit now in library services. It's a tough time, but coming here right before the starting school year and talking with other librarians, it's kind of got me in a really positive vibe. And so when I started school on Wednesday, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm ready to go because I've been with my people. In libraries, often we're the only librarian in school or the only library associate, library care professional, or whoever we are. They don't have a tribe. But coming here, I found my people, and it's got me ready to go.
Well, and I'm so grateful you shared with us today. I hope you visit the podcast. We can learn from you more in the future.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to talking to you again.
My name's Katie Clark. I work in a K-12 library. And so I work with preschool through high school, but I also work with a lot of families, a lot of parents who are parent educators.
I need to know more. So parent educators, all parents teach their children, but you mean something different.
I do. My school is a hybrid homeschool program, so families come on site to take classes. They also do homeschool. They also do a blend. Think of like an educational menu where a parent can say, this neighborhood school has welding and I want my kid to do that, but they're going to play football at this high school, but they're going to do math with a tutor because they struggle, but they're a great reader, so we're going to do a homeschool reading program with real novels. It's really a menu, so we get families that are doing a variety of things. You get families of struggling readers who are coming because they want one-on-one reading instruction. You get the high flyers who are going to do like classical education. We get, of course, the religious curriculums. So my school library not only checks out books, but it also checks out equipment like musical instruments and KitchenAid mixers for people doing culinary art, and just use your imagination.
So I'm dying to know, you work in a public school. How does the state fund you, given this sort of hodgepodge of enrollment, variety that your school offers?
It's a regular public school, and in fact, this course, it used to be called the Correspondence Study School, and it's been around since the 70s, and as you can imagine, our school has really evolved to meet the ever-changing needs of our community and our families. And in fact, this year, me moving into our permanent home, we're getting a brand new building that was custom made for our needs, and it's super exciting to move.
When I talk to your colleagues who will work with you on the board, first of all, tell us the role that you serve on the board and why your friends describe you as the state's cheerleader.
So originally, I joined the board as an area rep. And someone just suggested, hey, I think you'd enjoy being on this board. And I was brand new to library, and I was like, yes, I'll do everything, right? And so then I got really interested in getting more members. And so then I became the membership chair, and I was that for several years. And then slowly people were saying like, oh, you'd make a great president. And I kept kicking that can down the road, right? Personal life stuff. And I finally decided to be president. I ended up serving 2 years as president. And I think what's really important to me is that every librarian has their own set of special skills.
And it's important to me that people not try to be something they're not, that they really look at what they're passionate about and what they think is most important for their unique school community. And so I think we all just need to encourage each other to go for it and try new things and scrap programs that aren't working and to advocate, like talk about yourself and talk about your program and share everyone everywhere in the grocery store, in your community. And it's intimidating to talk in front of the school board, but you don't have to talk in front of the school board. You can get your message out 18 different ways.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful I had an opportunity to meet you and many members of your state organization. This amazing invitation to be here in Juneau at your conference. Thank you so much and have a great start to the school year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Sam, and I am the District Supervisor of Libraries for Anchorage School District, where I support 80 school librarians.
80. Okay, so tell me how this breaks down in terms of grade level and how many schools you're overseeing.
Well, we have just over 60 elementary librarians and just about 28 secondary librarians in a very large geographic area, and I get to spend about half of my time in libraries supporting them, visiting them, training, helping with leading projects or other fun projects, and the rest of my time at the admin building advocating for them.
I imagine they're very lucky to have you, that just fly in and come to the rescue. Now, you also have a very important role in your state leadership.
Yes, I'm now the incoming, or I guess as of today, I will be the president of AKASL, which is the Alaskan Association of School Librarians.
Congratulations. Now, does that mean you had responsibilities as the incoming president and then you'll be an immediate past president, sort of a 3-year commitment?
Yes, exactly. And I just want to tell everyone I hadn't been too involved in associations during my 10 years as a school librarian. And I want to tell everyone now, I wish I had done it sooner. It's been such a great environment to get help and support and camaraderie and just feel so comfortable with everybody that are all the wonderful school librarians that I've worked with. So I'm here to tell you, get involved with these things as soon as you start working in the libraries, because it's where you'll find your people and it's where you get inspiration and so much more.
Well, and I'm so grateful for that message because you're absolutely right. You know, until you get involved, you have no idea what you're missing. You know, I talk occasionally to district librarians, and they have a daunting task of trying to be everywhere all the time. What advice would you give to other district librarians who are supervising and making sure that everyone is feeling supported when you can't be everywhere all at once?
Get to know your librarians. They are rock stars and they can support each other as well. And we all work together and they fill in the gaps and they step up and do amazing things. And I'll hear about something after the fact. So it's like, you guys took care of that. You did that. You mentored each other. We have a great mentorship program too. So just always be building up everyone into being leaders, and you just have these mini pockets of things, great things going on in everyone. I mean, we have 80 of us. It's a lot. But there's small groups that are just in little email groups or friend groups, or they live in the same neighborhood. They run into each other in other ways, and they support each other. So just lots of mini me's running around, lots of support, and just people carrying the message to each other.
Well, and I know a lot of that culture is established from the top down, and the fact is that it sounds like they're willing to reveal some of their needs and learn from one another, and that takes a certain amount of trust in the leadership, and that comes with you.
Well, yeah, and I was with them for 10 years. I worked in the same district as an elementary librarian, so a lot of them, they were my colleagues before and continue to be, so we built that in, and the person who preceded me in this position was also a great support, and everyone really trusted her and admired her, so I think we've just built this culture of this is how we do it. Also, being in Alaska, being a little isolated, we don't have a school library program in our state. We are our own professional learning, and so we've all relied on each other for that for a very long time and have a great network.
Oh, it sounds like everybody is really doing well. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thanks. It was great to talk to you.
Friends, if you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. Now is a great time to order DEMCO's School Library Planner and Use the code UNITED to take advantage of Capstone's generous $20 discount off an order of $100 or more. See the link in today's show notes. The topic of our next episode will be AASL President and my conversation with Courtney Petlin. I hope you will tune in.